The agricultural sector, including dairy, beef, sheep and deer, is Northland's largest industry, contributing more than $1 billion annually to the Northland economy. There are more than 4,600 farming and farming-related businesses in Northland, with the sector providing over 14% of the region's jobs. Northland's subtropical climate provides a competitive advantage over other regions of New Zealand, creating higher pasture growth and allowing the ability to fatten stock during the warmer winter and spring months. Northland also enjoys the highest rainfall in the North Island of New Zealand, with a yearly average normally around 1,800 mils. The sector has doubled productivity in the past 15 years because of the uptake of existing and sophisticated new technology, and also because of the changing and conversion of land use. A lot of this conversion is from sheep and beef to dairy. Beef farming is an important part of the Northland pastoral sector, producing around 20% of New Zealand's beef output. Beef cattle in Northland are predominantly Hereford and Angus, although a large proportion of beef is derived from the dairy beef crosses. There's also a multitude of other minor beef breeds in Northland. There's a potential for an increase in production of beef in New Zealand with the increase in world market demands. Several Asian countries now eat beef more commonly, resulting in an emerging market for New Zealand. New Zealand also has a reputation on the world market for quality, with its grass-finished beef, because of the natural grazing practices. This beef tends to be leaner, with a sought-after flavour. Northland has a mixture of breeding and finishing properties. Some specialised beef farmers export frozen semen because of demand from overseas markets. There are 2 processing companies operating in Northland which process beef, sheep and calves. These modern processing plants can process about 1 beef side every 31 seconds, with around 175,000 beef animals being processed in Northland every year. Also processed are 123,000 sheep and 45,000 calves. Northland also boasts the biggest blast freezer in the Southern Hemisphere. Around 80 to 90% of production is exported. Products include a full range of vacuum-packed prime beef, bulk manufacturing beef, lamb and mutton chilled and frozen cuts, and veal cuts during the calf season. Dairy farming is experiencing growth in Northland, which is distinctive with the ability to supply milk all year round from a predominantly grass diet. This allows farmers to take advantage of the premium price for milk in winter, where most of the rest of the country is drying off its herds. Northland's warm and moist climate produces all-year grass growth, which is unique in aiding this ability. With nitrogen, Northland can grow grass successfully in the winter. In a bad year, there are only about half a dozen frosts, which is a key point of difference for Northland. On average, Northland dairy herds calve earlier than any other region in New Zealand. With the cows starting their milking as early as possible, their milk production is peaking before Christmas, making the most of the optimal spring and early summer grass growth when it's most efficient. The dairy industry cow is predominantly Friesian or Friesian cross in Northland. Within the region, Fonterra has 2 milk processing manufacturing sites, producing about 151,000 tonnes of milk products annually. During the peak of the milk production season, Fonterra's 2 manufacturing sites can process about 5.1 million litres of milk per day and employ more than 430 staff in the region. Fonterra exports around 95% of local production to more than 100 countries around the world, exporting a container of dairy products every 3 minutes. Deer farming is a relatively new industry for Northland and an area with great potential for growth. The milder climate reduces energy for maintenance and warmth, letting more energy go into growth, which allows many weaners to be heavy enough to be processed well before Christmas. Venison traditionally reaches a much higher price per kilo than beef or lamb, and velvet has enjoyed a solid export market in recent years. Depending on individual needs, farmers fertilise mostly with lime, which is mined locally within the Northland area, and superphosphate, also produced locally. The sheep farming industry in Northland is predominantly Perrindale and Romney. These are the main breeds which produce good quality wool for the carpet industry. The low incidence of frost in Northland allows farmers to produce lamb successfully earlier than in the southern parts of New Zealand.